Greetings, I'm Rob Chapman.
And I'm the captain.
Welcome to England, and specifically Andertons in Guildford, where we're demonstrating for you this wonderful Gurus product.
Gurus. So here is the Guru story.
Oh, bedtime story with Lee.
A chap called Chico Bellini, fresh from X Factor 2008. Contacted me earlier in the year to say, I know you're a massive John Mayer fan. Said, I'm going to see John Mayer because he wants to try the Sexy Drive Mark II. He said, would you mind if I popped in on my way to the sound check to give this pedal to John Mayer? Would you mind if I stopped in and showed you all the pedals that we make?
Could you imagine if you made a pedal and then you got a mail from John Mayer going, hey, can I just check out your pedal? And he'd be like, oh my God!
Yeah, so I think that was pretty much the noise that he made, just in Italian.
Right.
Yeah, so he swung by, really nice guy, makes some really kind of high-end looking, beautiful pedals. There are a couple of distortion pedals, which we've got now, and there's a valve optical compressor. There's a very cool valve reverb and tremolo in a box, but where the reverb in the box is actually a spring reverb.
Oh wow, cool. That's unique.
And he makes a Binson Echo Rec kind of delay pedal.
If it's on, sorry, just
no,
completely...
ask the question because I know the answer already. Ask the question.
What about if you stamp on the floor? Isn't it going to get burn?
It totally does.
Oh.
And so it's got remote foot switch options. So you can either have it on the floor and obviously be careful when you stomp on it, or you can have it on top of your amp and have like a little remote foot switch to turn it on.
I like the original orange tremolo reverb trays. Remember those? They had just a reverb in a box.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen those. So anyway, we're just going to do the distortion pedals.
Why
have we got healthy recipes?
Listen, we just need to explain this because otherwise we're going to look really distracted. Plus, they might just see it in my glasses. I said to Pete, because we've got a big TV screen down here that you can't see, we said, could you put an inspirational image on there?
So far we've had Apricot Bellini, I'm guessing because of the guy's name.
Then he's got salmon.
But it's not a Bellini, it's a salmon blini.
And that, it's just recipes including salmon.
I'll be honest with you, the fact there hasn't been anything naked on there so far has
That's a bit of naked fish right there, Lee.
It is naked fish. Anyway, look. So, the 1959 double-decker, imagine this is an amp in a box, because this is fully featured. This is, oh, he's lost it.
Oh, come on!
So
right.
So the 1959 double-decker is an amp in a pedal. So, and I know everybody says that, but it's pretty fully featured. So it's tube-driven.
I didn't think they made double-deckers in 1959. I thought they came out around the 80s. I used to always get one on the way to school.
That's a good question. So
Whizzer and Chips, double-decker. Oh, mate, how you doing? Let's go to school. Yeah,
really I love double deckers. Topics.
Topics were good too. Yeah.
And anyway, so the 1959 reference is to the famous Marshall 1959, 100-watt super lead head. A double decker, I'm guessing, is just a London reference.
Because it's red.
Because it's red. So this pedal, it can be bypassed. It has channel 1 with volume and tone and EQ, channel 2 with volume, tone and EQ, and a solo button, which is just a boost, which works as well, independently. In other words, you can have the pedal in bypass mode and just add the solo in. It's got an effects loop, it's a tube buffered effects loop, which you can run in either parallel or series mode. And it's got a DI out, which you can either emulate or not, as the case may be.
Oh, we've got two amp setups. We're going to start in this one or this one?
In the Boogie.
Yeah, in the Boogie. And we're going straight into the front of the amplifier rather than into the back of the amplifier, so that what you're getting is this stuff in the front of a clean channel on the Boogie.
Yes, and we're going to demo that. We'll demo it into the effects return of the Boogie to just emulate, so get rid of all the preamp from the Boogie, and we'll do the DI output in this demo. So stay tuned. Here is our first channel, and you'll see on close-up cam me adjusting buttons.
just used to love that riff so much as a kid. Oh, it's so good.
So you can imagine this is a mild, cleaner sounding sort of Marshall. We aren't going to be able to do this. Literally,
Pete!
all I've got is just a giggling Danish person putting rude images on our picture. Anywho, so channel 1 on this is, you know, like a sort of a cleaner Marshall kind of tone.
It's great,
a little
though.
bit of hair, isn't it?
So, can I have all of the hair? Just a minute. Ready? Nice.
That's perfect for you as well, because that'll clean up nicely.
Yeah.
You know. Channel 2, which is higher gain, so here we go. It doesn't sound like. Sorry, Rob. I just cut you off in your prime there, didn't I? It doesn't sound like it's got that kind of squishy, kind of compressed, typical distortion pedal type distortion. It is more amp-like, I guess.
And that's a valve, yeah?
Yep. And it's a valve that's powered by a 9-volt supply, but it's drawing a higher current, and it's got one of those clever bits of tech inside that increases the current so that you drive the valve properly. The solo boost is probably, I suspect, where using it into the front end of an amplifier like this, we're probably finding that the channel itself is compressing up a little bit, so the solo boost is not as noticeable. But here we go on channel 2, and then I'll solo as well. I should say that it takes a little bit of getting used to remembering how the buttons work on this, because the solo isn't an on and off button. So what happens is, say I'm on channel 1 and I apply the solo. To switch the solo off, I effectively choose either channel 2
but you know,
or channel 1 again.
I think that's innovation and really good.
Yeah, it's
because you're doing less tap dancing.
It's just different, I suppose. Yeah, you can go straight from a solo channel 2 to a channel 1.
It's one push less.
Yeah, and as I said, solo works over the bypass setting as well. So if you play now with nothing on the pedal. So it really is kind of like
less.
It really is kind of like 3 basic sounds plus a solo on each one. Now we're using the reverb that's built into the Boogie, but if you didn't want to, you wanted to use your own reverb or delay pedal, you can put everything through the effects loop of this pedal if you want.
Lee, why don't we try the Sexy Drive Mark II? Okay,
so the Sexy Drive this is the pedal that John Mayer wanted to try. I don't know if he ended up buying it or not, to be totally honest with you. I don't suppose he bought anything. He either got given it or he didn't. And this is one of these pedals where the clean and the gain sound are on 2 distinct circuits and then blended back together on the output phase. So if I engage this pedal but leave the balance all the way around to the dry, you actually won't hear any gain. Makes no difference because it's the same thing. If I put it all the way around to the wet, it's a conventional distortion pedal. And what most of you will find is somewhere in the middle, there'll be this nice blend of a sort of a raspy drive sound, but still with the definition and the attack of the clean signal going through it. So here's nothing.
That's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, I've been using this a lot in video demos since we got these in. I like it a lot. 3-band EQ again.
Oh, can you knock off a bit of the bass and poke up a bit of the mid?
I absolutely can. That does sound great. Really, again, just really authentic.
Boogie out of telly.
So, I'm just going to stay into the sexy drive using this Les Paul, and maybe as Rob tweaks, we'll stay with more of the dry signal blended in and with less gain, just so that you can kind of see, because that's really where it's different to other drive pedals.
Are you ready, Lee?
I am.
Yes.
A lot of, yeah, like. The more we wind it up so that it's just wet and gainy.
Oh, I know how it works.
No, the more it'll just be like a normal
distortion pedal.
Distortion pedal. So it's.
Do you want less of the effect?
Yeah, less of the gain, and because I guess it's trying to capture some of those classic guitar tones where. I think like Dave Gilmour was always famous for like having like a very much like a clean signal and a distortion signal layered over the top of each other, and this kind of pedal is trying to.
So what we got here is quite a lot of gain, but the wet dry is quite low.
So you definitely can hear that cleaner. It is quite clever. It's just a different vibe of distortion pedal. I think that's why I've been using it a lot recently. Is just because it throws up a different kind of flavour.
I like the way you just casually grab a purple custom short Les Paul.
Oh, it's so nice, this, isn't it?
I love at the back of the volute where it says the little gun.
I don't know if we've done the video on this already or if we're doing it later. But in our world, we're doing it later.
In our world.
Oh, turn the volume down, please. So. That's kind of the basic overview of how these pedals sound just plugged into the front of an amp. We're now going to just put the double decker into the effects return.
Slap it in the back.
Boogie. And then after that, we'll do the emulated DI output. So back in a moment. Okay, so we're plugged into the effects return of the Boogie now. So there shouldn't be any real kind of flavor or character coming from the preamp section. It's just straight in. Can't remember what the Triple Crown is. If it's 6L6s or EL34s, but whatever. The reverb you're hearing is still from the amplifier, and this is what it sounds like naked. Which, to be honest with you, is as nice as some actual clean sounds I've heard through preamps of amplifiers. So anyway, so here's channel 1, and I'll fiddle around with the controls as well.
Do it. Let me engage the S switch, Lee.
It's pretty dark sounding, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not that sort of take your head off thing that you might expect from a Marshall Super Lead. But although I like dark distortion sounds, so I'm not.
You are of the dark persuasion.
I am of the dark side.
Yes.
Channel 2 is the heavier gain sound.
Now, that was way too loud.
As I previously mentioned, the solo boost, because we're going into the effects return of the amp, and we're not confined by the sort of limits of the preamp channel, the solo is now much more effective because the channel on the amp isn't sort of compressing it.
That audio would have sounded bad because it would have peaked on the microphones.
Well, let's turn it down much more and. So maxed out, and with the headroom on the amplifier, the solo here's got the ability to give you like 2 or 3 times as much level.
Yeah.
So it's an effective solo control. We did muck around a little bit by chucking the sexy drive over the top. It's because this is an amp in a box, it's completely happy to have other distortion pedals plugged into the front of it.
It welcomes them.
So lastly, let's hear what the emulated output sounds like. Now, this is just an analog emulated output. It is quite often, somewhere that we go that we often regret.
And don't forget, guys, this isn't going to have reverb or anything because
that's true.
It's just coming out of the gurus.
Unless, of course, we put reverb through the effects loop.
We could put reverb through the effects loop, or we could add it on in post.
So yeah, so just to be 100% clear, you can see now I've disconnected the main output to the amplifier. We're using a balanced output here going straight into our interface. We've got it emulated mode, which I think the manual said the emulation here is just like a 212 with a 57 on it. Of course, you don't have to have the emulation on. You could take it. You could just take a straight direct output and then use something like a 2 notes or a cab Zeus or whatever you want to do to do effectively a sort of a digital job of what
an
this
imaginary
emulation
cabinet,
is. An imaginary cab, which we know with some of the 2 note stuff and that new cab Zeus pedal we tried the other day are actually pretty good these days. So anyway, this is just the emulation inside the gurus. Here we go. So there we are. The emulation is not its strong point.
Well, we don't know. We're not hearing it.
We're hearing exactly that through there.
We're not hearing it produced and mastered.
No, admittedly, we're not hearing it with any EQ. We're just what we're hearing is essentially a little powered speaker in here that we just get the straight feedback.
Yeah, I'm going to withhold judgment until I've heard it back on the video.
Yeah, I mean, I think typically these are reasonably good representation of what we're hearing, and I'm going to sort of say I thought it sounded like a lot of analog sort of, emulated DI outputs on pedals, which is not as good as
out of the amp.
Doing out of an amp or using a two notes or something. Yeah. But, it's in there.
There you go. Not much else we can say, really.
That's literally
1959 double-decker Sextrad Mark II Gurus.
I really like the look of them. They do this cool thing where there's this sort of piece of perspex that sort of overlays the controls and stuff, and it gives it a really kind of expensive look.
I like the sounds, but I also like the feel of the knobs.
Yeah.
It's so luxuriating.
It's pretty high-end stuff, this. So, the Sexy Drive is going to cost you about £220, and the double decker is going to cost you about £350.
It looks like it wants Gucci stamped on it.
Yeah, but they are made in Italy, so it's not Far Eastern or anything like that, and they are fully featured. I like.
There you go.
So there we are. Well done to Chico and his team at Gurus. I'm pretty sure that Pete and maybe one of the other guys is going to take a closer look at the reverb and the compressor. I can't even say the word, the reverb and the compressor and the echo in another video. But there you go, there's the two drive pedals, and I've been the Captain.
We really hope you enjoyed this video. I've been Rob.
Quite serious, wasn't it?
It was very serious.
It's good, every so often. Bye.
Bye. Pow.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching the Andertons Guitar YouTube channel. If you're a drummer or a keyboard player or interested in music technology, you might find one of our other channels interesting, and I'll put details of those in the description below. If you want to find out more about the products we've just featured, please click here. If you'd like to buy a t-shirt like this, please click here. If you want to watch another video on our guitar channel, click down here. And to subscribe to our guitar channel, click here. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.